All right, let's get right into it. We're surrounded by brands, logos, and shapes literally every single day. But have you ever really stopped to think about the wild legal stories hiding in something as simple as a bottle or, say, a word on a coffee bag? Turns out these everyday objects have some absolutely fascinating tales to tell about what a company can and can't actually own.
I mean, just look at this. You know this shape. It is, without a doubt, one of the most recognizable shapes on the entire planet. You don't even need to see the label to know what it is. But that, right there, brings up a really, really tricky legal question. Can a company actually own the shape of its container? Is this shape all by itself a legally protected trademark? Well, that is exactly what we're going to unpack. And to do that, we are going to put this bottle on trial, so to speak. We're heading straight into the courtroom to see what happens when an iconic design like this one has to prove its case. So this isn't just a hypothetical. This really happened. The case was Coca-Cola versus all Feck distributors, way back in the year 2000. Coca-Cola's argument was simple. Our bottle shape is so famous, it's basically our trademark. But the court had a much tougher job. They had to decide if a shape could truly act as a brand all on its own. The whole argument really boiled down to this. On one side, you have the idea that, hey, it's just a shape. It's a functional design that holds a liquid. But on the other side, you have the claim that it's a true trademark, and the law has a fantastic term for this, a badge of origin. Now remember that phrase, it is so important. A badge of origin is something that instantly tells you, the customer, who made this thing. The entire case really hung on that distinction. So, what did the court say? Well, they ruled that the shape by itself was not automatically a trademark, not without more evidence anyway. And this gets to the heart of the principle. For a shape to get that special protection, a company has to prove that when you see it, your brain doesn't just think, oh, that's a bottle. It has to think, oh, that's a Coke. It has to be a unique signpost pointing back to the company, not just a cool piece of design. So here's the big takeaway from that case. Function is not enough. It doesn't matter how distinctive or cool your container is, its shape has to do more than just its job. It has to become a symbol of the company itself. And, that's a pretty high bar to clear. Okay, so that's the deal with shapes. But what happens when we shift from the physical product to the words printed on the package? Let's totally switch gears here and see if the same rules apply. I mean, think about it. If a globally recognized, iconic shape like that has a tough time getting trademark protection on its own, you'd think a simple, everyday word would have basically no chance, right? Well, let's find out. And this leads us perfectly into our second case, which is all about a very, very familiar word. A word that's often used to describe quality, something you've seen on a million different products, the word gold. This time the case is Contarella Bros versus Modena Trading, and the fight was over using the word oro on coffee packaging. Now, oro might sound a little fancy, but the legal fight was about its very simple, very direct meaning. And to really get what the court was thinking, we need to wrap our heads around another legal concept. It's called inherently adapted to distinguish. I know, it's a bit of a mouthful, but the idea is actually pretty simple. It just means, is the word you picked so unique, so random for that type of product, that it automatically points back to you as the maker? Now, the very first thing the court looked at was the meaning of the word. A oro, it turns out, is simply the Italian word for gold. And this is a key point in trademark law. It doesn't matter what language the word is in. The court looks at the direct translation. You can't just pick a foreign word to try and get around the rules. This little spectrum is super helpful for understanding this. Think of it as a scale of trademark strength. At the very top, the strongest, you have totally made-up words like Kodak. Then you have arbitrary words like Apple for computers. They have nothing to do with the product. But as you move down the scale, you get to descriptive words. And that's exactly where oro, meaning gold, for coffee falls. It just describes the quality, right? A gold standard, a golden roast. It's at the absolute weakest end of the spectrum.
So it's probably no surprise what happened next. The High Court's final decision was that oro was not inherently adapted to distinguish. And why? Because it's a word that other coffee sellers might legitimately need to use to describe the quality of their coffee. You can't let one company monopolize a simple descriptive word like gold.
So, we've looked at an iconic bottle and a common word. They seem like totally different things. But now, let's pull it all together and see how these two stories are actually telling us the exact same thing. Because here is the big takeaway. It doesn't matter if we're talking about a physical shape or a word on a label. The fundamental legal question, the one that really counts, is exactly the same. Does it serve as that badge of origin? Does it point to the maker? So we can actually boil this all down into a simple little test. And this is so useful if you ever think about building a brand. You start with your big idea. Then you have to ask yourself some hard questions. Is it just a functional shape? Is it just a descriptive word? If the answer is yes, you're probably going to have a tough road ahead. To really work, your idea must be a true, undeniable badge of origin.
And that, right there, is why this all matters so much, for businesses and for us. A trademark's real job isn't to describe what the product is. Its job is to tell you who made it. That's the bright line that separates a strong, protectable brand from just a simple description. It's what keeps the marketplace fair and helps all of us know exactly what we're getting.
So I'll leave you with this to chew on. Think about a brand you absolutely love. Now, using what we've just talked about, try to figure out what makes it so distinctive. Is it the shape? Is it the name? Or is it that powerful one-two punch of both that really serves as its ultimate badge of origin? Pretty interesting when you start looking at the world that way.